We love to rant, from the heart never relent. This is the Tottenham supplement, money well spent. Feet stomping, heart stomping, ready for the event. Chasing glory every moment, heaven sent.
Hello. Welcome, good evening. It's Crisandro, of course, and yeah, I just want to finish working. I just started watching a bit of Game of Thrones, and I'm about 10 years behind everybody else. But just got the episode where uh, oh, just a very good episode at the moment. But yeah, matters not really. It's just obviously there's a story about betrayal and whatnot, which involves Jon Snow, but um it just kind of got me thinking really that I know I threatened to do like a video of this during the time when we visited Scotland to take on Rangers in the Europa League, and as things have kind of occurred, and nothing really spill on from that really. We did have a state of a club address uh, last week or a couple of weeks ago, which was a good discussion really, which involved a lot, three of the big hitters in the group, and it was very welcomed. And since then, we had a lot of mixed results. And I'm just thinking, off the top of my head, really, and especially this morning when I kind of saw stories linking us with a possible takeover bid from Qatar, which I don't think is real. I don't think any sane person think is real. But and added to that, stories that there will be another protest being organised by a friend of mine, Brian Daigle, and one other, and you just kind of thinking, okay, that's fair enough. And that seems to be the way. Well, if you believe everything that you hear, that seems to be the general trend of traffic. I did have tickets for the game against Aston Villa, but I couldn't go. I was suffering very badly from influenza, and you can tell I'm still kind of recovering from now. And but from what I understand, there were chants of Levy out as is becoming the norm. Used to be the reserve of the home game, and now it's seeping into the away game, and it's just kind of. Yeah, I suppose in a way that's kind of sported for me. Literally Levy songs every day. But I'll see how it all unfolds because, like I've said before in the group and also on here before, that's what we've seen this happen before, where there seems to be like a groundswell. We want Levy out and everything like that. Everybody wants Levy out, and then let's protest to show how much we want Levy out. And then when it comes to the day of the protest, between 20 and 50 people turn up, and you kind of think. There's a lot of people on these channels, on these groups, on these talk shows, radio talk shows and whatnot, sports talk shows, and where they all talk about we. This is what every Spurs fan wants. This is what everybody at Tottenham wants. And then when it comes to the day of it, no one turns up. But then they're still keeping it up the full chest online, and you're gonna think. You had your opportunity, and the last one that happened was about a month or so ago. It was about 6 weeks ago. Organized by a guy that I know on away trips, and I forget which game that was. I didn't include it in the video at the time because when I went past and had a look, there was hardly anybody there, and you kind of think. He was thinking there was going to be about 200, 300 people going to turn up. I think barely 20 was there. And you kind of just think, all right. I mean, I even said at the time on the group that you had your moment, you had your chance. He didn't turn up yet again. Let's put it to bed, or it should be done and dusted. But obviously, it's not because these things are just determined by bad results. and that's kind of where I want to kind of start. Really, I mean, I want to kind of start on the bottom and work my way up if I can. So the players at the club, really, where do I begin on them? Where do I begin on them? I mean, actually, no, let me start at the top because that's where it's kind of all coming from, isn't it? We want to talk about Levy out this, Levy out that. Levy never spends the money, this, that, and the other. I think I made myself kind of clear in the first incarnation of the group where I said that my thoughts are that Levy, I think I was taking this as far as we can. Thank you for the memories, but I think it's probably time to say goodbye. And if there's someone who can buy the club, who can afford to buy the club, then if he wants to sell, then maybe he should think about selling it. You know what I mean? And I'm not as vociferous, and I never ever claimed to be. And I know that was taken out of some kind of context, especially in the first iteration of the group, where our class as a Leviato just seems to be staying stum, and I'm not Leviato. I am all for a regime change if it will help the club, but if it doesn't, then I don't see any point in changing the status quo because at the moment things are going great for the club off the pitch. On the pitch, that's a mixture of many things, but I know that people want to lay the ground, lay it all at Levy's door, and this is where the issue comes in. This is why I can't get behind the movement, because every inch of fact and nuance is taken out of it. Literally, all they are doing is like, I know I'm probably gonna anger some people saying it, but it's just like Brexit. It's just literally ignore the facts, just go straight to feelings. If you feel this way, then that's what we have to go with. And I am anything but a feelings guy. Been a while since I've been a feelings guy. I just go by plain facts. And the fact is that the club, when Enoch took over, we're in a dire position now. Was one of the 6th richest clubs in the world, or something along those lines. And people are going to say, well, we never spend the money. From what I understand, the last 4-5 seasons, we've had a overall net spend of 500 million. I'm not a big money guy, as you can probably tell. I just think it's all about getting the kind of player that fits in with the kind of ethos and the kind of way we want to play. Bring that player in, and he'll do the job. Many people go for marquee signings. That's literally all I hear from many Spurs fans. We want with a marquee signing. We need a marquee signing. We all want a marquee signing. We all need a marquee signing. I don't. I really don't. I just want a player who can do the job, who's kitted out to do the job, who has the right mentality. Because I'm tired of back in the day bringing in these kind of players that are just so you'll just know that they're not going to stay more than a season because they think in their head that they see this club as a stepping stone, and that's what they want. But I know a lot of people want those kind of players because they think if we get them in, then maybe there's a chance of changing their minds or whatever, or maybe we just utilize them for a year and then that's it. I want teams to be built around players. I want to have a team that is not going to be chopped and changed every couple of years, except for when we actually get in the type of player that will actually elevate us to level. And there have been mistakes made in that in that regard, and there's and another thing that stems from the past when they talk about a Levy signing, a club signing, or a manager signing. I don't buy into that one bit. I know that especially now that we have like a committee in place, I know that what happened before I can't say what happened before because not a lot of things were said at the time. There's been rumors, and it's literally I can't go by rumors. I can't remember if Redknapp actually did categorically confirm that when he was going for the title, because I don't think ever did go for the title. We were up in those positions, and he'd like to talk our chances down, and it was always about 4th place for him. I don't know whether he categorically confirmed that when we were going for the title, that he wanted Luis Suarez and I remember the name of the defender. This is the story that always gets banded around. But instead of those players, he got Louis Saha and Ryan Nelson. Louis Saha was a good striker, but just very, very injury prone. I guess that was the issue. Ryan Nelson, never really heard of him, but I can't remember too much about him when he was in the Spurs show. I don't know if that says something or not, but where it just talks to my the impetuosity of youth. Where I don't know, it's just kind of like I just went with the moment and didn't really study things too hard. I say youth. I was in my early 30s then. So I can't say if that was confirmed or not, but talking about and that's kind of worked its way all the way through every kind of season, really. I know for a fact, because it was kind of members of the board doing buying anybody that Pochettino was offered players. Maybe you could say that those were going to be leading signings. I don't know. But by the sounds of it, I don't think there are any kind of players proffered by Pochettino during that time, during those 3 windows. And people will say, "You really expect Pochettino to have been happy to have gone 3 windows?" I'm not saying that. I'm saying that he was offered a lot of players, offered a fair few number of players, and sorry, I just have a few issues there with the system there. Offered a fair few number of players, and in that time, he kept turning them down. That's literally all I'm saying. Which is why we went 3 windows without a transfer. And I know that to be a fact, because I know people say you can't trust the board, but then again, suddenly you can just trust all kinds of weird conspiracies. That ain't my bag. I'm not down with that. So there were chances to get players in. He rejected them because he didn't want them, and then I think that probably goes towards the where he said something along the lines of it should change my job title from manager to head coach. I guess that's why he was trying to imply that he didn't have full control of transfers, which I guess is probably true. But then again, that was a system that it worked under. It's just what it was. It's only I think Harry Redknapp had like a full reign of everything at the club. Everybody else worked under sort of a director of football in a way. I think there was a director of football as such under Redknapp. I can't quite remember, but he never takes control of the club unless he has control of the club. So that was the kind of thing there. So that's what I'm saying. That there is nuance there, and yes, he made some. He also made some mistakes. He admitted that in one of as I alluded to in the last state of the club address, where he said that he brought in the wrong managers, and that was kind of like it was inferred that a prominent player wanted those kind of win now managers, and that was taken to be Harry Kane. I think he probably said Kane at the time. I think by the time Kane had already left the club anyway. I was looking to leave. Yeah, I think he left the club because I think the that fans forum was out in November. I think it was. So I think he alluded to that being Kane wanting. So that's fair enough. So he did what he could to keep his prized asset in Kane, and in the end, Kane still left. We haven't won anything in 24 years. Won one trophy in 24 years under Levy and Enoch. That's, I guess, again without nuance. That's just very true. But with nuance, which is where I again differ from everybody else. The nuance states that in that time we had 3 title challenges. We had I can't remember how many semi-finals, numerous semi-finals. We had 3 finals in that time as well. 4 finals, I think, because I forgot to include Red Redknapp's penalty shootout defeat to Manchester United when we tried to defend our League Cup. So we got to numerous finals, but each time it was. And that's when I think that Levy botched those finals. I think that the team was good enough to get to the final, but it's Levy's fault that we lost it. That's where the issue kind of lies. That we get to these finals, we have a team good enough to get to these kind of finals, and yet they don't get over the line. I know people, like I say, no one wants to scratch out of it, but I fully blame either the players or the manager, and mostly the managers in that, especially. I suppose that first final on the Redknapp, well, the only final on the Redknapp, it couldn't be helped. We battered Manchester United from where when I look back and I remember that game, battered them, and Manchester United just sat back and defended for 120 minutes. For the other semi-final, lackadaisical against Portsmouth, we just didn't even try. So that was down to the player, or maybe down to the manager not firing him up. I don't know. And then the numerous semi-finals, title challenges, and the final under Pochettino. Literally, the team bottled out, or you could probably say that Pochettino actually ruined all our chances by swapping things or just suddenly changing how we played in those games to try and preserve. Like the way that Manchester City sometimes do in big games that you don't see them do for the remainder of the season. They always seem to change something up. They did it against us in the Champions League quarter-final in the first leg, if you remember. They just sat back and tried to defend for 90 minutes, and you think, that's not you. That you've never done that under Guardiola. Why are you doing that now? And then, because they knew that we knew how to exploit them. Under various managers, we knew how to exploit them. Exploit those areas. We sit back. They have the ball. But that sort of thing, those other changes. So Pochettino obviously did that against Leicester in the home game when we lost to Leicester in the league. And then there's a couple of other games there we just suddenly just changed tactics and whatnot. Lost games that we shouldn't have, and then we lost that league. It's just Pochettino panicking. The next season, Pochettino again panicking. And then in the FA Cup semi-final against Manchester United, goal up, we decided to try and defend. What's the point in that? Putting Sonny at left back in the League Cup semi-final against Chelsea. What was that all about? Other games where we just kind of try to contain teams that we don't usually do in the league. Just bottling everything. Champions League final, I go on. Absolutely should not have started Kane, but you bottled that one. And then when we went a goal down after 2 minutes, didn't change anything. We just kind of played right into Liverpool's hands, and we were happy to sit back and defend for another 88 minutes until they scored in the last minute, make it 2-0. They don't. No, they're just absolutely sabotaged by the managers. But apparently that's Levy. So you see what I mean? That's what I'm trying to get at. That there is nuance in these sort of things. That there is nuance. But at the same time, I could say that that Levy had made a few mistakes. Like for example, although having said that, having said that, I know that let's say that the win now managers didn't work. We got to a final with Mourinho, and he sacks him 6 days before the final. What's that all about? George Graham get to a semi-final in his Enix's first season, was that? Against Arsenal, sacks him about 2 weeks before that semi-final. Why? Because I think Graham said that he wanted to sit down and speak to the new chairman and then see what kind of finances are available for the upcoming season. I think that the semi-finals in April, so yeah, we could think about next season at that point. Already planning. He gets fired. That was stupid. Letting it be known that he intended to sack Martin Jol at half time in a UEFA Cup match against Getafe at home. What was that about? I don't know how the news got out, but we knew. And then a few days later, Jol was sacked. It made no sense. That was just dumb stuff. You could say that in the early stages when they were trying to set up the club for future successes, you might have got way too involved in transfer. But I don't know how involved he was, because I don't hear that side. All I hear is rumors from fans. And so why I'm going to formulate an opinion based on fan rumor, I don't know. I have to hear managers, players, whatnot come out and say. But to my knowledge, unless somebody wants to provide a link below for me to read up, in which case, please do. I can then find out. I can then see. But if you know what I mean, so that's why I can't get on board with any of that. That's why I'm called a happy clapper or whatnot. I wear it with pride because that means I like to sit down and study what the issue is. I don't just go off feelings. I don't just go off lies. I don't have time for that, and that's where the issue lies. And we see the likes of I don't know. I mean, all these different Spurs channels all going all ad hoc on this thing, you know, and you just kind of think, where's your evidence? Where is your evidence? What you're just gonna shout that out and not even so much as tell me how you come to that thought? But that's just what it is, and that's why when they go to the coaching horses, they go to the brickies and say we're going to organize a protest, or they go to these certain YouTube channels and they say we're going to organize a protest. You know, you're going to be on board, and I'm saying no, because you have not explained, and and that's also a phenomenal thing which I'll come to at the end. So yeah, Levy has made errors, but at the same time, look where you took the club from and where we are now. I mean, there's even like news that just come out now saying that we're going to build a state of the art women's training facility at White Webb's Lane up in Enfield. You know what I mean? The women are going to have their own training facility, and that's going to be state of the art as well. You know, to go with the one at Bulls Cross, it's going to be epic. We're starting to build. I would actually prefer that they build like a second like a campus. I think I said that in the Man City video, didn't I? The one where we won 4-0. That I would love for us to build a campus similar to that at the Etihad, where we have the main stadium, then we have the little stadium as well, where the under 18s or any other games can be played there. I would love that for that to be a thing, but obviously it's not gonna, or maybe it will. I don't know, but that's something I think Spurs should consider. I think they really should. But that's just my kind of thought, really. But outside of that, yes, I know he's made a few errors, but he's also brought us as far as we have come here to the club where we're now worth around about £4 billion, and the stories of him searching for further investments. Who knows if that's going to lead to a takeover? I don't know, but I can't just suddenly say that Levy has been awful for the club when I remember exactly where we were back in 89, 90, 90, 91, where the FA Cup win was vital to keep us in business. The years under Irving's collar where we ran into the ground. One trophies went at what cost? We almost went out of business, almost went out of existence. And that's why when in the early days when people would say we got the money, why don't we just spend it? And then just say, do you want to end up like the type like Leeds? And people could go on and say, oh, like that's ever going to happen. These same people seem to have forgotten what it was like in the late 80s and the early 90s, where we almost did go out of business. Hell, even when we rebuilt the East Stand to what it was in the mid 80s, that nearly bankrupted us. You know what I'm saying? So there's no point saying how's that going to happen when it happened 3 times almost in the 70s, 80s, and 90s. So no, I can't take that, and I ain't going to listen to that stuff. It is what it is, man. But you know, it's up to you if you want to listen to that. If you actually want to read up in history, that's another thing that's a modern day thing. You just ignore all of history. Those who ignore history are doomed to repeat it, or whatever the term is. And we've seen plenty of that in this day and age. But at the same time, we, when we built the new stadium, yes, there was a little bit of tightening of the purse strings, but it has kind of loosened in the last few seasons, especially now that we've got a committee in place. There is a structure in place now, so that means that when it does come to us identifying the players, going after players, sealing the deal, and then Levy as a chairman could just okay the check. You know, if he's within the budget that they set. That sounds fair enough, right? But apparently that's not enough. We should be spending more money than we actually need. And the fact that the people to bring up, is it a club signing or is it a? I tell you what, the players that where the players that come in where they have said that they spoke with Ange and these and you know they were convinced. You could say that that's the Ange signing, right? The young players that are coming that are being bought from other clubs to bolster our academy to bring them up. You can say that those are club signings. That would be fine. You could have that. But this whole entire debate where it's just like as a club it's just kind of boring because there is no basis behind it. We talk about this the Spence signing. That was there was a committee in place for that one. Yeah, that was a committee signing because he was a young player at the time, 21 years old. Exactly what we were kind of after. And well, I mean, Conte is on the committee, so you would think that he would have given it the okay. But he's saying that he didn't. Although you're saying that the club bought him. I don't know if it's deflection or not, but none of that made any sense to me. It's just kind of like a deflection in case it didn't go well because apparently during that time he had attitude problems, as you know. So only certain type of players have attitude problems. That's where it goes. But but yeah, it is it is what it is. And so yeah, I mean, so that's my kind of thought on the chairman at the point in time. I mean, that's kind of how it gone from then to now in terms of yes, the purse strings are being loosened, and which is why we're able to spend the money that we do spend. I mean, no one can say. I mean, that same season where we spent like 60 odd million on Dombele, and then people saying that we spent absolutely nothing. I know that's towards the end of that transfer window, but I guess this is the one transfer that Pochettino finally said yes to. It had to be because, like I said, he was given options. I don't know the players because I'm not privy to that, but I do know at the boards and the director of football at the time. Oh, who was that? It wasn't Munn. It was the one that everybody hates. Can't remember now, but and they had brought players to him, and he kept saying no each time. No, I don't want him. No, 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 no. And then a year later, he says, maybe they should change my title to head. Yep, I'm back again now. But it's all about keeping this perspective and keeping everything correct. You know what I mean? That's all. That's all it is. The nuance needs to be there. Otherwise, we're just rolling around in conspiracies, and I'm tired of conspiracies. I really am. And then we come down to the manager now. I don't think I ended up very well, did I? So for me, like I said at the beginning, and then I finish at the end. If you know, if Enoch do decide to go, well, thank you for the memories, but it's time to go. Time to say goodbye in my eyes. But I'm not like in a massive rush, or I'm not that vociferous about it because I recognize where we come from to where we are now, and I recognize that some issues of us not winning trophies. You're at the same time. This is where I come to the managers in a minute, but this is going to be an overspill. But let me finish this point. That I recognise that during that time where we haven't won trophies, that have been mitigating circumstances. And now if I bring in the managers bit, this is where I say the mitigating circumstances where managers have literally sabotaged our chances of winning a trophy. This is where it is. The managers that we've had a lot of win now. Because a number of win now managers. One day Ramos was a big success at Sevilla when he came, won us a trophy in his first season. Took over Yol's team, didn't he? Because Yol was, of course, sacked against Getafe, but he won us that League Cup. Then he was fired after 2 wins from 8. And that was at the same time that Berbatov and Keane decided to jump ship. You could say that was probably bad planning that we let both our strikers go and not have anyone decent to replace them. But I think the idea that Berbatov had run, demanded to leave, and the Keane one was very late. It was very late on. There was no inkling of him leaving, so which is why I guess we had to scramble to get what was it, that youth player for Manchester United, great surname from what I remember. I got him on loan. That was like a. Or was it? Well, no. Yeah, I mean that was. The Keane was going to be there, so it was no inkling of him leaving that we can understand. This is why we got the young player on loan because I think Keane was meant to stay because I'm going to be our main striker, and then he upped and left. Which when he left, his name will come to me in a minute. Almost had it. Is when I left the young striker from Manchester United um, as our only the only real option, which was a nightmare. And then from then on, we got 2 wins from 8 games, and then we struggled along. I think we even played Bentley in the false nine at one point, until we got like was it Defoe back from Portsmouth, and then we got Keane back. He didn't last long at Liverpool. And then yeah, to this day I still refuse to sing Keane's name. It is what it is. But yeah, bad planning. But then he was another win now manager who did win now, but then was sacked, and we brought in Harry Redknapp, who wants to take over everything, run the clubs into bankruptcy, and then wash his hands off of it. Did that. Then say that that is not him. Did that at Portsmouth. Did that at Southampton. Did it at QPR as well, which is weird because they were one of the richest clubs. And West Ham famously spent a lot of money there. But yeah, he spent a lot of money at Spurs as well, and did nothing. I mean, I had a bit of an argument on another group where I think, yeah, no, it was just kind of stupid. It's like you kind of inferred that Redknapp won us our last trophy, and I kind of intimated that he won us nothing. He didn't aim to win us anything, and that was literally it. And some upstart comes across saying you should need to show this man some goddamn respect. He got us from relegation to the Champions League. One, we were never going to get relegated. It was just a really poor start to the season, which we have had under the different guys as the managers. And doing deals late, that's up to you. But I have never seen. I've never been in the boardroom. I don't know how long these deals take. Goes back to the manager as well. Late deals. Back to the chairman as well. Late deals, which I have no idea about. I mean, nowadays, like I said, it's down to our transfer committee, which involves Levy, which involves Postecoglu, which involves Longer, which involves Donna Cullen, which involves Scott Mann, which involves there's a couple of other people that I can't quite think. So just going by this season in January, we brought in Kinski very early, Anton Kinski, and then the last 2 players we got in very late. By the sounds of it, we were working on those deals for a long time, but people were saying that we always leave the deals till late. But then when you hear what's actually been said, and that's the thing, people just suddenly just back off from that. They just suddenly back off from that, when it's all been explained and there's no answer. They literally explained that they were in touch with it, especially Matas Tell, in touch for a long time, but he needed to leave him to actually decide what he wanted to do. But apparently we leave deals very late because they know how deals are done. Because on FIFA, you can do deals literally within 10 minutes. That's another thing I can't get on board with. But yeah, I mean, that was one of the things there. Didn't really do anything in the summer window as such, especially for Ramos. We did everything in the winter window when the Redknapp was there, but then we had nothing to show for it. We literally had nothing to show for it. Like I said, took us from relegation to the Champions League, which was a total manipulation of what happened. Yeah, we got into the Champions League, but what we do in that? We literally had a big enough squad, but it was always asking for new players. We used 14 or 15 players every season at that point. So the players were ran into the ground to the point where every December to February we had what the press, as press chums would call, the Spurs' traditional mid-season slump. And I got so pissed off at that because we didn't have a traditional mid-season slump before him. So why are we having it now? But apparently, no, they're not going to talk about how he runs the players into the ground to the point where we're competing. They're competing in every game, every Premier League game. It very rarely changes, except for substitutions. But it doesn't get rotated. Doesn't play the weakest. It doesn't play the strongest players in the cups. So it just because we got everything in the league, and in Europe as well. Except it's the Champions League, then it plays a strong team there. So 14 or 15 players in the Premier League and the Champions League. But even if you're just playing like one game a week, you still want to have a bit of rotation, to keep them fresh and whatnot. But it didn't do that. So every time we just had that slump, we then fall away from what was a title race. I was the only one who actually, in the whole Spurs fan base, I think, who I should believe we were in a title race at that, especially on those two occasions. He always used to talk it down. And yeah, I got gassed up that season, that first season we qualified for the Champions League, because I even said at the time on Facebook, my first iteration on my Facebook page, ladies and gentlemen, we now have our Tottenham back. Because I thought we were going to go on to greater things. I did not think that literally was just the limit, fourth. You can say that the chairman wanted fourth, and I say he would be happy with that. The manager should want a bit more ambition than that, surely. But he was happy for that. And so that's why he was never phased when we just had like a mid-season slump, fell to the fifth or sixth. Then we had to scramble back. That first season, our third season, I'm going to say, we finished fifth. So we got qualified for the Europa League, was it, or the UEFA Cup as it was then? I can't remember. And then the following season, overplayed the players again in the Premier League. Had another traditional mid-season slump. Fell away from, I think we were third at that point. We were third. We were behind Man City, Man United. I think there was only 4 points separated the two. Then we played Hull at home, or Hull. It was Hull at home, and we lost. And that's what set us up on this run of, I think it was 1 win in 13 games or something along those lines. After February, got back into it because we then got our second wind, and then we finished fourth. And it's where people kind of like get annoyed, because when we finished fourth that season, it was a home game. It was cemented fourth. I was with my mate Jill. We sat there. We were in the East Stand at the time, and they announced that they were going to do the parade. I just said to Jill, "Okay, I'm up. I'm leaving. I'm gone. I'm done. I don't want to see it." She was flabbergasted. You know what she said at that point? But we finished fourth. People who know me know that after that first time we finished fourth, I want us to get on to bigger things. And people who know me knew that I had an issue with Redknapp at the time, because I could see the same pattern happening for seasons upon seasons. And people like to say to me that I only got annoyed at Redknapp because he wanted the England job, ignoring everything that I say. Because in their mind, and you see it when we were challenging with Leicester for the title, in their mind, they are happy with fourth place, and everybody else is happy with fourth place. And they can't seem to conceive of a Spurs fan at that time, because this is all weird, because this is where it all kind of gets all turned upside down. At that time, the Spurs fan base were so cock-a-hoop with fourth spot. They thought there was a trophy to be celebrated. I even got an argument. I can't remember her surname, but I know her name was Lisa in the Spurs group at the time, saying that anyone who celebrates getting fourth is an absolute doesn't know what winning a trophy is like. And she just came up to wrote on my post, "I'll celebrate if we get fourth," like an idiot. But that was the fan base then, and this is where I kind of don't know when it kind of got turned, because this was during the Wenger years as well. Even though Arsenal was still winning things, it will still talk about fourth place being like a trophy, and Spurs fans like, "Oh, fourth place a trophy." Yeah, but I don't want to be in the Champions League though. So yeah, let's play the weaker sides in the cups and whatnot, so we can concentrate on winning, getting fourth. And that's exactly what they did. That's exactly what Redknapp did in that season. That everyone became Bayern Hotspur fans. It was the most embarrassing time of my life. Oh, that was until later on when I actually see Spurs fans celebrating Man City beating us at home because it stops Arsenal from winning the league. Anyway, it's what it is. Apparently, according to that, apparently I don't know the history of Spurs and Arsenal. That's why I want my team to lose. Anyway, pathetic is dumb. Anyway, back to what we were saying. So that season, during those times, Spurs fans were actively desperate to get out of any single trophy to get fourth spot. You see where I'm going with this. And I was the only Spurs fan who was angry at that season and demanding Redknapp be ousted out of the club. Ousted, actually ousted out of the club because he got fourth. He buoyed off all the trophies. Didn't even give the league a proper push by actually rotating the damn thing. Only played his favourites. But yeah, I was called all kinds of names for saying that I wanted to see Spurs win a trophy. So I wanted Redknapp out because he was never going to win us a trophy. We were never going to win a trophy on there. But I wanted him out. I wanted someone better. You can see how that's kind of like weird now that everyone's now demanding that a manager win us a trophy. At that point, I think we'd gone about what? That would have been 5 years after winning the League Cup. And yeah, I was the one who was very unrealistic. Redknapp was then sacked. Selwood then comes in. I was just an interim thing. That was never going to be a thing. Although he thinks he's the greatest manager of all time because he has a high win percentage. No, it wasn't Selwood. No, AVB came in after that, didn't he? Sacked by Chelsea, even though the youngest manager there didn't give him a chance, and we didn't give him a chance. He was the first manager that actually comes up and says, I want to get Spurs challenging for the title." He only lasted 13 months or whatever it was. Didn't even give him enough time to put a squad in, but because we had a couple of heavy defeats, which is what's going to happen if you're trying to change your entire side, but we did bring us our first ever victory at Manchester United in nearly 20 odd years. Was it 89 that we lost? Yeah, so it's been 20 odd years. It didn't last long. I remember I was at work at that time, and it was a Saturday, and I was, not allowed but I managed to get like a little live stream going of the game. Wonders of the internet back then, and I refused to leave work until I watched the game, and I will celebrate at the end. Cut Clint Dempsey scoring, make it 3-1, and then United scoring late on to make it 3-2. Yeah, just holding on, and we won. It was a great feeling. Didn't last long though. He was out, and then Sherwood comes in. He then gets us our second consecutive victory at Old Trafford. I was there for that one. We won 2-1 out of Bayol scoring. I don't think he lasted long either. I'm trying to think there was anyone in between, but then Pochettino comes after doing very well at Southampton. And he stays for 5 years. In those 5 years, initially he talks about wanting to win the title, and that was good. That was good to see. And he never really wavered from that. Although that talk of top four then crept into a lot of his press conferences at the end of it, and that kind of got me worrying. But he did have us third season, challenging for the title. We were so close, Ben. We were so close, but it was because of that bad start. Didn't do well in the cups though. But then again, he didn't really take the cup seriously. His thing was the league and the Champions League. So we went close. So we all kind of checked out after that draw with Chelsea, which ended the tunnel. See that, but then again, that's another thing with the fans right here. I was talking about fourth place being the thing. And then all Spurs fans cared about at that point in time was finishing above Arsenal. Fuck the title. Nobody gave a shit about the title either. And that's a bit that kind of pissed me off in groups, and especially in the Tottenham supplement group. That's what got my goat when me and one other person was one, or maybe two other people talked about our title chances. There was an irritating guy in there who non-stop talked about, oh my god, are we gonna? We haven't submitted fourth yet. We haven't submitted fourth yet. Pissed me off. I can't remember his name. I don't think he's in the group anymore. If he is, it's very, very quiet. Well, he won't be in a new group anyway. Anyway, that's by the by. But the number of fans, all they cared about was finishing above Arsenal and finishing above Leicester, which annoyed me. To the point where I think after I think after a one-day game or whatever it was, I can't remember. I wasn't looking at Arsenal's game. I was just more dejected that we lost the title. And then we went to Newcastle away. Newcastle already been relegated at this point. And literally everyone was just jumping up and down and just getting angry at the fact that Arsenal were winning and we were, I think, early on 2-0 down to Newcastle. This was a foretelling of what will happen to us at St James's Park every season, every time we go up there until this season. We ended up losing 5-1. And there was more dejection in the Spurs. I remember somebody actually, I was kind of like laughing at everyone in the ground, just getting all out, oh my God, we're going to do it. I'm actually going to finish my Arsenal. Do that. I was more laughing at I know somebody threw a fork at me, one of those wooden forks. Everyone's looking around pretending they didn't know what was going on. What happened there? Fuck them. Fuck a lot of you. And then at the end of it, I just kind of giggled. I remember wearing my, I had a, not a bowler hat, kind of like a trilby at the time because it was kind of sunny, and I had no real fashion sense. And the news filtered through that Arsenal won their game, then it meant that they finished second. And there was more dejection in the Spurs fan base at finishing below Arsenal than there was at losing the title. And I'll never, ever, ever, ever forget that. That's when I knew that for me there was a disconnect between myself and the rest of the fan base. That's when I knew that there was a disconnect right there. That's when I kind of thought, okay, I'll strike out on my own. And lots of Spurs groups at the time, gross. They were more angry at finishing below Arsenal then and losing the title. The second season, we took Chelsea all the way down. Not into the wire. I think that they still up the title. I think with about 6 games to go. I think it was. But they were, once again, there was more there's more interest in intrigue. Even then, finishing about Chelsea is probably my thing, really. I wanted to finish about the team that I hated the most. But everyone was more cock a hoop. And we finished second behind Chelsea because not because it meant that we lost out on the title, but it meant that we finished above Arsenal. This is why you can always see why I think there's only one other character in the group, Ryan Beziek, and you heard him in the last set of the club address. Why we have this disconnect with the Spurs fan base, because I'll speak for me anyway. I'll just speak on my behalf. These seasons where I was wanting us to win trophies, you're just interested in finishing fourth. That's all you cared about. So I'm not quite sure when that switched over. I'm not quite sure when that kind of switched over, when winning trophies was more important. I'm not quite sure. I think it was probably at that time, it must have been, Redknapp had gone. That's Redknapp. Pochettino had gone. And then we went to a win now kind of manager. We then got in Mourinho. And I think that's probably when it switched then, because then suddenly it was like, well, he'd been brought in to win trophies. And I think it must have been the season It wasn't with us at the start, so he then started the next season, and it must have been yeah. So it was just during the pandemic and everything like that. So we got to a League Cup final, beat Brentford, and we were already kind of hearing noises that we might be able to go to the final because they'll push the final all the way back from February all the way to down to April. So that's to take advantage of a new the new laws regarding that. And as we're getting ready, Rooney was sacked, as I alluded to earlier, one of the mistakes of Levy. Could have won that trophy as well because he knew he knows how to eke out a trophy. But then we have Ryan Mason in charge when we lose to a last minute goal to Manchester City. But let's not kid ourselves. Man City were good value for that win. That's when it must have changed because then it suddenly became, wow, okay, so it looks like all we care about is fourth spot. All you fans cared about was fourth spot. It's literally all you fans cared about. So then it suddenly became like, oh, okay, so he sacks him after that. Wait, we haven't won a trophy in 10 years. Or whatever it was. Over a decade. Yeah, over a decade. And then we bring in Conte. Yeah, during the summertime when we were going through. That's another thing, I guess. There's another thing with Levy that we went through about 6 different choices as manager, and then we settled on the 7th. I think we were going to bring in Gattuso at one point, but then the fans decided to say no to Gattuso, and in the most ardent of ways, sorry. We were going to bring in a Portuguese manager who managed at Shakhtar Donetsk, and some reason we then brought in a new director of football, and you put the kibosh on that. That was Paratici, that's what it was. You put a kibosh on that, even though I think he would have been quite a good choice. Arne Slot was another one. He turned us down, said he'd rather wait. And we brought in Nuno Espirito Santo, who knew he was 7th choice, so he wasn't enthusiastic. We weren't enthusiastic. He just wanted someone in place, and so it was just a marriage made in hell, really. But they did get us after a good start. You can tell in that video where he says, we want to make you proud. His heart wasn't in it. He knew. And that's the thing, another thing that Spurs fans piss me off about. The way the conspiracies come in. Whereas he is being put out as a guy who just didn't work out. And there's no nuance whatsoever. The nuance involved is that he knew we didn't want him. We knew he didn't want to be here because we didn't want him. So it's never going to work. I think he lasted 7 games. 3 defeats, 3 wins, and a draw. When we won, I think we won 1-0. When we lost 3-0. So that was quickly done. And then Antonio Conte was waiting in the wings. So unless Nuno was told he was a stopgap until Conte was ready to come back, maybe he was on gardening leave, he couldn't take another job. I don't know what the issue was, but then he joined us. And he proceeded to play the type of football that we didn't actually think he would play. Very expensive, and also they added the Catenaccio style there, where defensively we were kind of solid as well. Didn't do anything in the league. I think we just finished 4th place, was it? Can't remember. Didn't matter anyway. It wasn't a title. It wasn't a trophy. Then the second season comes in, his first full season, and he's abysmal. Awful. We are awful throughout. But instead of blaming himself for his kind of tactics and how the way he kind of roboticized each player, and there was no real freedom. He had players there that knew how to play with a little bit of freedom, and he tried to shackle them. Instead of blaming them, he then blames the club, saying that the club should be used to 20 years were like this, and the only thing that's constant is the people at the top. He knew what he was doing. He was deflecting, and for the fans who already believed all of that, that was just more ammo for them. Conte was right. They were saying. Didn't matter the fact that Conte was rubbish. It was Conte was right. Because it helped their cause. And this is why it's why there's an issue like that. This is why we are what we're at loggerheads as it is. Because he had no reason to say it. He just resigned. But I know he wanted the payday. He wanted to be sacked. Completely ballsed up that game against Southampton. It was his fault, but he laid it all off onto the club. Laid it all off onto the club. So he was fired, of course. That's when Big Ange comes in. And yeah, a man who knows how to build teams, build struggling teams. But apparently, because he did it in Scotland, that's the issue. Even though he's got a track record all around the world, but because he didn't do it in the biggest league in the world, apparently, it's the most profitable league. I wouldn't say it's the most entertaining or the biggest. That'll be La Liga in my eyes. But that's because the only reason I say that because they have the most European Cup winners. They have the most World Cup winners. Whereas what are we doing? It is what it is. And then and then to add to all that, so that he's trying to build the side in his image, of course, but he's not being given any kind of time whatsoever by these fans, and that's just amplified things more to have a go at the TV. And it's understandable because we are in poor form. But then we got, I think somebody actually posted in the group that over the course of the season we've had 213 separate injuries, or whatever it was, something along those lines. Let me find that quote because I want to get it exactly right. Exactly right. But where is the whole thing? Because this is just blew my flipping mind when I saw it. Oh, there was a poll done by Lily White Rose yesterday. Are you Ange in or Ange out? 14,779 votes at that point. 56% saying Ange in. Just so that you know. I let my credence to that as well. Here we go. Ange Postecoglu doesn't have a point about Tottenham's injuries, with a cumulative total of 213 absentees across their 39 fixtures, at least 25% worse than any other English side competing in Europe. And then, instead of hearing that, we were trying to twist it to because, like I said, never any new ones. It's always black and white. So now that somebody then posted, my question would be that what are we doing as a club, which means it's only players that are suffering injuries. Also, why do some players look like they don't want to play after injuries? Conspiracies. This is what I can't be asked with. What I can't be asked with. But that's the issue at the moment. So yeah, we bowed out of 2 cups within a week. Lost the semi-final of the League Cup to Liverpool. Then lost the 5th round of the FA Cup to was it the 4th? No, I couldn't care less now. To Aston Villa, and that's when the Levy out chance started again. And both games I had tickets for, but I just declined to go. I just didn't want the aggro. That's why I did the live stream for the Liverpool game. Volume off everything. Didn't want to hear the away fans and then the Villa fan. And then the Villa game. I didn't want to go because I was suffering from bad influenza. But at the same time, I could have gone sat in the corner, but I just didn't want to. There was no way of me of enjoying the game. And instead, I just went out with my girl and just watched a couple of movies. That's what I did. That's all I did. Again, managers have made mistakes, especially Pochettino and Redknapp, in when it comes to trying to win trophies. Mourinho got to the final. Levy made a mistake there. So that's what I'm saying. Nuance. That's all I'm saying. We've had the opportunity to win trophies, and in this case, the managers blew it. 17 years since we last won a trophy. 2008. I was there. It's crazy. Then we come to the players. I mean, not much I can say about the players, except that I do apologise for that. But that's Shoobs calling through there. But he'll understand. I mean, whether it's on the players, whether the right players were brought in or the wrong players were brought in, there's always been an issue. And then now they've got the players that we were bringing in that we want now, then they're all mostly injured. What can we say? But we have quite a few who have kind of like down tools. Who could forget the likes of Berbatov refusing to play, Keane huffing himself down to the touchline when Yard wasn't going to bring him on as a substitute. Both of them forcing a move to play for Manchester United and Liverpool respectively. And then the likes of Ndombele, well, I think there are issues that go deep down, but apparently, because only certain type of players get this, he's lazy, with bad attitude. And then Fitz. It begins with F, doesn't it? The lone player that came to us from Manchester United when Berbatov and Keane deserted us. Fitz. So will come to me. Then maybe the wrong type of players brought in. Ryan Nelson, definitely the wrong type of player brought in. Vlad Kirikesh, another one. You can say the cheap option, which is what a lot of fans like to come along with and say. Like I say, if you can do the job, you can do the job. I don't care about his price. But they're the same ones who want to buy a £100 million player. And then as soon as the player lands on the pitch, you want to hold him to account for everything he does. No easing in period because he costs £100 million. Make it make sense. But it is what it is. Oh. And then, the players that deserted us, where we could have become good or could have become better. I'm not going to go that far back because he wasn't involved in the Levy. Anyway, the player I'm talking about. And then working up there towards Harry Kane, Gareth Bale forcing moves abroad, Luka Modric as well forcing a move. All that's because they don't want to play under Levy. Apparently, that's what some people say, even though they play under managers, not under the chairman. But like I said, conspiracies. But you know what it is. You know what it is. But that's literally all I can say. I mean, I can say that financially, the club's in rude health, but we do have to kind of work out a few things. Is why we have gone these many years without a trophy. I mean, it ain't going to be as simplistic as we got his leaving fault. Even though you can see that since they are now freely spending again after the austerity during the stadium build and the recouping measurements alone, that we are spending money. We are trying to build a team now that will actually bed in and challenge maybe next season. Phase 3, I guess. Well, would you really count phase 1 as the first year of Postecoglu, because he wasn't really here at the start of the season, was he? Oh yeah, he wasn't here at the start of the season, wasn't he? Yeah, he was. So yeah, I guess this will be phase 3 next season. I know he was charged with there was a quote which was horribly misconstrued and taken out of context. He says, "I always win things in my first season." He was asked about that. Your record shows that you always win things in your second season. He says, "Yeah, I do win things in my second season." That's what he was asked. But people who want to try and beat Postecoglu up will try and take that, ignore the nuance, and that's what I'm talking about when it comes to nuance, and say that he just comes out and boasts about it. Which is why when people talk about it in the group, I just ignore. When people talk about it on their own profiles, I just ignore. When people talk about it on YouTube channels, I just ignore, because that's literally not what was said and how it was said. But you know, people, when they got an agenda, that's what they will come up with. But all I can say is that, as I said at the beginning, I know I started with the way I should have ended it by saying that, yeah, thanks for the memories, but it's time to go. But at the same time, I'm not that fussed about him leaving. If he gets a good offer and he wants to go, then he should go. Just so we can have just so we can have a clean break, a clean slate. And I don't care about getting the fans on side. I don't care about this. We're all divided. There are certain people in society, when I say society divided, there are certain people in society I do not want to align myself with. Just the same way that I don't really want to, especially the most vociferous, most nasty of Spurs fans, I don't want us to be united like that. The only thing that we share is our love for Spurs, and then the only thing I guess we kind of share, we want to see the club successful. The only difference being that I want to see us succeed, be successful in a sustainable way. I want to see us build to get to be that successful. I want us to be a club where if we win a trophy one season, we will win it again the next season and the third season. And during that period, we're not hemorrhaging so much money that if we try to win it for a fourth season, that will bankrupt us. Many fans don't give a shit about that. They really don't. God's honest truth, they don't. Because their answer is always the same. Why should I care? I'm not the club's accountant. I just want to see us win stuff. Whereas I want to see a club still called Tottenham Hotspur winning stuff well into the future and having a base to jump off from. Okay, that's just me. That's what's my thought. Thank you if you managed to stay up all the way all the way to the end of this, but I just had to get my kind of thoughts across, and hopefully people will give me their thoughts on what I have said, not on what they thought they heard, just the nuance of it all. But hopefully I've explained myself as much as I can do. If not, then I can follow up with another video out of it, because it's just me just getting stuff off my chest. Because there isn't that many, there aren't that many voices like mine out there. Everyone who has the ability to platform themselves all speak with the same voice. But when you see it in the context of the fan base, they're just at the moment a drop in the ocean. There aren't that many, and if you aggregate that across like the many protests that we've seen, really is a drop in the ocean. And when they consider that a lot of these protests are organized and set up from, they're not even based in London. Some not even based in the country. And you kind of see where all the noise comes from. And maybe that does kind of play into why there's so few numbers at these protest marches. But it all has to be put into context. That's what I'm saying. It has to be put into a certain kind of context. That yes, they are noisy. Yes, they are very vocal. Yes, they are loud. But that's not the entire fan base. It looks like it and it sounds like it, especially when it's amplified on Sky and when in home games or away games. But until I see the high road taken over, and I mean absolutely taken over, but not just 200s, not just 2,000, and I mean 10,000. It's apparently 10,000 people are screaming and shouting in the stadium. That's the impression you get. I want to see that reflected in the streets. I want to see that reflected in banners. I want to see that. Then I'll think, okay, maybe it is a majority of Spurs fans. Maybe my view of I mean, not my passive view, but my kind of nuanced view. Maybe my view is in the minority. I don't know. But all I can say is that I don't see it in the stat. I don't see it. I don't see it, on the streets. But it is what it is, and I guess we shall find out, when the next march happens. But like I say, everything does involve nuance, and as long as you have that, then you won't go mad. Thanks for listening and thanks for watching. Let me know in the bottom what you think. And next game is Manchester United this Sunday. I'll be there for that one. We'll be looking forward to that. Let's hope for a win, eh? Come on, you Spurs. Thank you all for watching, and you'll take care.